everybody, it's Nikki here and welcome to a Bookish Friday video. So today's video is going to be a try a chapter tag video. Is it a tag? Is it though? Now, I recently recommended to Charlotte to do a try a chapter video because it would help her to work through some books on her shelves that she wasn't sure if she wanted to keep or not. And then I thought to myself, I'm really good at giving advice, not very good at taking my own advice. So that is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to take my own advice and I'm going to try a chapter of some books. I think there's 12 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep, 12 books here that I'm going to try a chapter of over the next couple of days, and then decide whether I want to keep them or not, because these are books that, you know, now that they're on my shelves, I'm not so interested in them. So let's show you what I have. So the first book is actually a book I got from Charlotte, and it does look interesting. To be fair, it does look interesting, but I've never really heard of it before, so I don't know whether I'm going to like it or not. It is Fairy Wars by Herbie Brennan. When Pyagus Malvi, the rebel prince, comes into conflict with the unscrupulous fairies in the night, the realm of the Purple Emperor is thrown into chaos like never before. Escape for Pyagus is to be found by sending him to the human world using an ancient portal, but evil forces have tampered with the device, leaving Pyagus stranded there. So yeah, I'm going to try a chapter of this, see if I like it or not. The next book is the first book in a series, I believe. I found these in my local charity shop. I found the first 2 books in paperback and the third book in hardback, but it is Ratcatcher by James McGee. It says, you don't send a gentleman to catch vermin, you send Hawkwood. So, and then you've got this kind of man in a hat. It says, the rich hate him, thieves fear him, and women love him. Matthew Hawkwood just wants to do his job, keeping the peace on the teeming, crime-ridden streets of Regency London, but there's more to this tall, dark and dangerous Bow Street runner than meets the gin-sodden eye. Okay, he's a man with a past that worries some in high places. So, yes, looks like it's going to be very gunslingy, kind of, like, you know, it's going to be fun. I'm going to try and read a couple of chapters, maybe the first chapter or 2, and see what I think to it. So that's that one. The next book I'm going to try a chapter of is Mallory Blackman's Noughts and Crosses. I have book 1 and book 3, and I want to know, is it worth me trying to find book 2, to be fair. So yeah, I'm going to try a chapter or 2 of this, see if I like the writing, see if I like the story, and if I do, then I will continue to look for book 2. But if I don't, then I will declutter book 1 and 3 and I will stop thinking about having to find book 2. So that's that one. The next book, well, the next 4 books, I think. Yes, the next 4 books I got from the lovely ladies who attended my lunch club on Wednesdays. It was a lunch club for the over 50s. God bless them. Wonderful ladies. I mean, let's be honest. They're worse than the kids. Always chuckling with them. Lovely bunch of ladies and a couple of gentlemen who came as well. They were surrounded by women. They loved it. But yes, are these books my type of books? I used to read these a lot when I was younger, but am I really interested in them now I'm a little bit older? Maybe I should be. I'm getting older. I should be more interested in these books. But anyway, the first book is A Time to Remember by Anna Jacobs. So it is the kind of wartime story. 1945, the war in Europe is over. It should be a time of utter joy and celebration. But I'm guessing that things are not quite the same as they were before the war. And this poor lady is going to have to cope and deal with that. So I want to try that one. And the next one is The Lost and Found Girl by Catherine King. And I know that this is the favourite author of one of the ladies who attends my lunch club. I call her Nana Brenda. And it says, one twin lived in luxury, the other lived in secret. So obviously it's about two twin girls who are separated at birth, I should assume, and both have been brought up in different households. And I suppose these two will come together and you know, discuss their times, I suppose. So yes, there's that one as well. The next one is A Sister's Struggle, Will She Choose Duty or Love by Mary Gibson. So it's like that. So again, we're in London, 1935. Ruby is always hungry, but she will go without so her young brothers can eat. So yeah, it's just a young girl's story during wartime, I should imagine. So yes, that's another one. And then the last one of the books that from my lovely ladies is The Daughters of Ironbridge by Molly Walton. I believe this is set in 1830s Shropshire, at the time of the Industrial Revolution, I should imagine. It says, divided by class, united by friendship. So we obviously have the daughter of the upper class and then a daughter from working class. Yeah, so becoming friends and getting through life when at a time when they should be divided. So I'm going to try a chapter of that and see what I think. Now the next book I bought as a kind of protest, plus I think it was only about 10p, so I wasn't going to pass it up. I bought it because I was reading a book that you might have heard me rant about before, called The Templars, and it was a non-fiction book discussing the myth and legend of the Templars. And at the end of the book, the author decided to take it upon himself to basically rip apart authors who had fictionally written about the Templars. And he hated Dan Brown. And he also hated another author called Kate Mosey. And I found her book, that this is the exact book that the author of the Templars book was completely trashing. It is Labyrinth, and it says 3 secrets, 2 women, 1 grail. So this was the book that that author was completely trashing, and in protest of my hatred for his book, I picked up her book. So it is a chunker. It is massive. It is over, I was going to say it's over 600 pages. It's about 6 pages off 700 pages. It's 694 pages. It's huge. So I've got over my little strop now. So I'm just going to try a chapter or two and see if I like it, see if I'm intrigued by it. And if I am, then I will keep it. If not, I will donate it, which is what I will do with all of the books that I decide not to keep. Moving on, we're going to go into some thrillers, and I'm going to give this one a go because I've discovered that even though I haven't read many thrillers this year, I have discovered that I'm not a big fan of domestic thrillers. I much prefer the detective thrillers. I like the detective stories. And this one is My Husband's Wife by Jane Corrie. And it says, first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes murder. Does it? Does it really? Does it have to? So it says, what if someone took what was yours? So I'm guessing there's going to be some kind of murder in here, and it's going to be some kind of domestic thriller. Am I going to be interested? I don't know. So I am going to read a chapter or two of this one and see if it gets my attention. If it doesn't, then it's going in the donation pile. The next book I kind of picked up because it was one of those where, you know, when you go into a charity shop and it says, oh, 4 books for £1 or 50p each, and you've found 3 books, and you think, well, if I only take these 3 books, I'll be paying £1.50, but if I pick another book, I'll only have to pay £1. So you pick any book this was the Any book. It's Hold Back the Stars by Katie Kahn. I don't know, it looked pretty. Says 90 minutes, a few years from now, not too far in the future, two people meet. Classic story of boy meets girl, except that it's not. When we find them, they have an hour and a half left. Unless they can save themselves, they won't survive. Why? I don't know. Why? We don't know. Not a clue. So I'm going to try a chapter or two of this, see if it captures my attention. If not, you know. The next one I bought because I thought, oh, I've seen the movie of that. And now the longer it sits on my shelf, the longer I think I could just watch the bloody movie. And it is The Time Traveller's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger. So, yeah, this is a 519 page book. Do I want to sit and read the book? I mean, the film was confusing enough with it jumping all over the place. Am I going to get even more confused just by reading the book when I could just watch the film? So yeah, I'm going to give this one a try, a chapter or two. See if it captures my attention. If it doesn't, it's a goner. And the last book in this try a chapter video is Us by David Nichols. This was longlisted for the Man Booker Prize in 2014 apparently. And it's basically about a man who is trying to renew his life with his wife after their son has left home. So he decides that the best thing to do is to go on holiday. The hotels are booked, the tickets bought, the itinerary planned and printed. What could possibly go wrong? Well, there wouldn't be a story if something didn't go wrong. So I must admit, I picked this up because it was cheap. Tell you, charity shops are awful. They make me pick up books I never think about reading. But actually, when I started flicking through this, I wasn't very sure about the way that it's formatted, so we will have to see. I think I'm going to have to read quite a couple of pages. I think when I looked at it, the first sort of chapter was about 24 pages, and I'm not a big fan of long chapters, so yes, I'm going to be trying this one as well. So yeah, that is all 12 books that I want to try a chapter of and decide whether I'm going to keep them or give them away to charity. So I posted a video earlier this month to say that I was going to be picking 12 books and I was going to try the first chapter prologue and see if I liked the writing style, liked the theme of the book, get a feel for it, and then decide if I wanted to keep or unhaul those books. And I am happy to say that it's kind of gone a bit 50-50. So let's start off with the negative ones, the ones that I am definitely getting rid of. I have this stack here of all the books that I am wanting to unhaul, and funnily enough, they're all contemporaries. What a surprise. So the first one is A Sister's Struggle by Mary Gibson. This was given to me by one of the lovely ladies from my lunch club, which a couple of these were, and I am grateful for them giving me these books because they know I love to read. But with some of these books, they're just not my type of story. So this one is set in London in 1935, and I started to read this, and it is very much that difficult, common working class people's setting, and I don't mind that. With this one, I just didn't really gel with the writing. It just didn't entice me into the story, and I was kind of like, I'm not really bothered to read this. Like, I put it in here because I thought I might not want to keep it. So this is the first one I'm going to unhaul. The next one, again, another one given to me by the Lunch Club ladies. This is A Time to Remember by Anna Jacobs. And the reason why I DNF'd this one, because I actually didn't read too much of it. This is set in 1945. The war is just over. Yeah, this one had, as many of these stories kind of do, domestic abuse and child abuse. Like, the father was aggressive and angry and bitter and took it out on his family, and I read for pleasure, and I don't enjoy reading about that subject matter. I know for some books it's an important subject matter that needs to be addressed, but this isn't addressing anything. This is just a story of how life was back then, and I want to remember the good times, not the hard times. And so, yeah, this one made me uncomfortable to read. So I actually didn't finish the first chapter on this one. I actually DNF'd it halfway through. So, yes, that's another one that's going to be unhauled. The next one, similar veins. This is The Lost and Found Girl by Catherine King. And I must admit that when I started reading this book, I was very intrigued in the story. We have a young girl called Beth who is an orphan, and she has a sort of like a mystery benefactor who has helped to give her like a living allowance for her to be, she's a maid in someone's house, and this mystery benefactor helps pay for her upkeep, and then has also provided her a dowry, so she is kind of married off to a farmer, and she meets him on her wedding day outside the church, and his response to her is kind of, she's pretty enough. And she ends up going back to the house with her mother-in-law because her new husband rides off after the marriage with the vicar, lovely husband, and she believes that she's now going to be the farmer's wife, the lady of the house, but her mother-in-law has other ideas, and I thought that was a pretty interesting story to read. And then I reread the back, and it looks like she goes on to have a pair of twins, and one girl, one boy, but for whatever reason the paternity of these twins is questioned, and so she rehomes the boy twin to her husband's uncle, who is quite rich and well-to-do, and the girl twin goes to a poor, cold-hearted family, and she's raised as a maid. And then the story seems to jump 16 years into the future, where the girl and the boy find each other, and it looks like a romance might ensue, and I just think that's a little icky, so I don't want to read that. So yes, that is going to be unhauled. The next book, now I did say that when I put this in the video, it is The Time Traveller's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger. I watched the film years ago, and when I saw this in a charity shop, I thought, oh, I watched that film, I'll buy that book. The point though is, I've never thought about the film ever since, apart from when I saw this book, and since having this book sitting on my shelves, I keep thinking, I really should read the book, but I'd rather watch the film. So I did try to read it. The first chapter was rather long, it was like 24 pages, so I got to about page 20, and I thought, it's good, but I can't see this really being great for me. I didn't feel drawn in. I didn't feel like I could just watch the movie. That's what I kept thinking as I'm trying to read through the first chapter. All I kept thinking was, I could just watch the movie. And so, yeah, I'm gonna unhaul this. and if I feel the need, then I will just rewatch the movie. I doubt I'll even do that. It's not one of those that I've ever thought, oh, I missed that film. And then the last book that I'm definitely unhauling is Us by David Nichols. And he's the author of One Day, apparently, which I thought I had on my shelves as well, but I don't. And this book, the way it's written, kind of reminds me how another book, The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson, I think it was, how that was written, in that it's very sort of like, I don't know, just very straight and to the point, and it's not like, it's, the main character is a 54-year-old man, and it sounds like a 54-year-old man is telling you the story. And on the first page, it tries to be funny, like, and it just wasn't funny. Like, it tried to make a joke, and I just didn't laugh. I got bored. This was like the story that your uncle would tell at party, and you would avoid your uncle because you knew that he would, if he grabbed hold of you, you'd get told a story like this, and you would rather be off dancing or drinking with your friends. So yeah, this bored me, so I didn't, again, I just, no. So this one's being unhauled. So that is 5 books off my TBR. Yay! Woohoo! I had 300 more to go. Then I have 2 books that were kind of like a, I don't know. I questioned. So the first one of those is one of those that the ladies gave me. This is The Daughters of Ironbridge by Molly Walton, and this one is set in 1830s in Shropshire. And at the beginning of this book, we have a young woman who is carrying her baby in her arms. She's not pregnant, in her arms, and she's crossing a bridge, and she's very frail. She's very malnutritioned. She is not very well at all. And you think, oh my goodness, is she going to, like, throw the baby off the bridge, throw herself off the bridge? What's going to happen to the poor woman? And then a guy comes along the bridge asking her if she's okay. She hands him the baby, and then she dies. And then that's the prologue, so no spoilers. And then we move into the first chapter, where we are then following a working class family. The husband, the father, works in the ironworks, and the mother and daughter are at home doing like the washing. And the mother realizes that the father has forgotten his lunch, so she sends her daughter to take lunch to her father. But when she gets to the ironworks, she realizes there's been an accident, and is it her father? We don't know. So that first chapter kind of landed on a bit of a cliffhanger, and I wanted to know. So I was kind of like, but is this going to be like the other stories? I don't know. But it did intrigue me enough that I'm going to keep it, but it's on probation. So yeah, that's that one. And then the other one that is also on probation is a thriller, and this is My Husband's Wife by Jane Corrie. And I don't like domestic thrillers, I really don't, but this one kind of does intrigue me. So we have a young couple who have just returned from their honeymoon, but you find out that they've only known each other for 6 months. So it's a bit of a whirlwind romance, and she is about to start her first day in her new job as a criminal lawyer, and she is off to the local prison to speak to her client, a prisoner there. And yeah, so I'm like, and the prologue in here is just 1 page, and it says, you know, can a marriage end in murder even if it's already dead? And, you know, so you know there's going to be a murder because that's in the prologue. And then we're kind of going back. And then I was a little bit intrigued, so I kind of went on to chapter 2, where we have their neighbours, which are a mother and her young daughter. And they are of a Italian heritage, I believe, and the young girl doesn't want to go to school. She keeps getting bullied at school for her accent, for her name, for being different, for using different words for different things, like their word for grandma and granddad. And so she's trying to convince her mum to stay at home, and it seems like her mother's a bit of a man-eater, I want to say. She has a gentleman friend who comes, and when he visits, the little girl is sent to her room. So it intrigued me enough that I kind of do want to read it, but it is on probation because, as I say, domestic thrillers are not my thing. So yeah, it's one of those that I'm a little bit apprehensive about, but I will keep it for now. But the ones that I am definitely keeping and I am definitely excited to read in the future are these 5. So the first one, I was kind of hoping I wouldn't like this one, because this one is a chonker. This is Labyrinth by Kate Mosey, and this one was really intriguing. In that first chapter we have an archaeological dig going on in July 2005, and this woman is digging at this piece that she's found, but there's a big boulder on top of it, so she's trying to dig around and underneath it to try and get to this, what she discovers is a buckle. And once she removes that buckle, the boulder then becomes unstable and ends up like coming down towards her, and you know, she has to dodge out of the way before she gets flattened by a boulder. And what she discovers is the boulder was actually hiding the entrance to a cave, and she goes into the cave and she discovers markings on the walls, like this on the wall, and all sorts of like historical writing and things like this, and also a shallow grave with 2 skeletons in there and a ring, like, and it just I so wanted to carry on reading this. It was so exciting. There is a second timeline in here which follows in July 1209, where in Carcassonne, a 17-year-old girl is given a mysterious book by her father, which he claims contains the secret of the True Grail. So very excited to continue to read this at some point in the future. Just wish it wasn't so big, but yes, I'm keeping Labyrinth by Kate Mosey. The next one I'm keeping is Ratcatcher by James McGee, and this was really interesting because this was like swashbuckling and highwaymen, and so at the beginning of this we have 2 highwaymen holding up a stagecoach carriage, and one of the occupants of the stagecoach is like attached to a kind of like a suitcase, you know, via a chain, you know, like those security things. And one of the highwaymen is saying to him, "Where's the key?" And the guy is like, "I don't have the key. The guy who attached it to my wrist at the beginning of my journey had a key, and the person I'm taking it to has a key, but I don't have a key." So the highwayman is like, "I will get this off you, hook or by crook." And he does. But as they're like getting all this jewellery off these people, they hear horses coming up the road, so they have to quickly up on their horses and ride off into the distance before they're caught. And so yeah, I was very excited. Who were the highwaymen? Who is it coming up the road? What is in that sort of briefcasey thing that he's stolen? Lots of intrigue, and I really enjoyed the writing in this, so I will be keeping Ratcatcher by James McGee. The next one I am keeping is Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Blackman, and in this world we have Noughts, who are the poor society, and the crosses, who are the rich. And at the beginning of this book we have a Naught, who is a maid sort of servant to a cross lady, but they have been working together for so many years now that they're pretty good friends now. And the maidservant's son plays with the her boss's daughter, and they're best friends as well. And they're sitting having a chat, having a drink, and her husband, the Cross's husband, comes home. I forget the lady's name, I do apologise. So you have Jasmine Hadley, who is the Cross, and Maggie. Yeah, so Jasmine is the Cross, the rich lady, and Maggie is the Naught. And Jasmine's husband comes home, and they go, Jasmine disappears inside to talk to him. Next thing, they both come back out, and the husband sits and speaks to Maggie, asking her about her evening the following day. And Maggie answers as honestly as she can. And then the husband gets up, thanks her, and walks to his wife and smacks her across the face. Now, I know I said I don't like domestic abuse, but this was kind of like, it wasn't too bad. Like, no slapping is allowed at all, like, is okay at all, none whatsoever. But in this instance, it was to the point. It was part of the plot. And so Maggie is confused as to what's going on, and when she goes to see if her boss is okay, her boss literally tells her to get out. And then later on that evening, she gets a phone call to say that she's been fired. And so she goes to the house to speak to her boss. And then she comes back. And then the first chapter ends, and that was the night that Lynette disappeared. Who's Lynette? Like, was that the daughter? Was that Mrs. Hadley's daughter? I don't know. No, it wasn't. So it's not even her daughter. So I don't know who Lynette is. I want to find out who Lynette is. So yes, that one's staying in my collection. The next one, I had this on my contemporary shelf. It's not contemporary, it's sci-fi. It's set in space. So this is Hold Back the Stars by Katie Kahn, and at the beginning of it, we have a man and a woman who are literally floating in space. It seems there's been an accident. They must have been on a spacewalk or something. Something's gone wrong. So they are floating away from their spaceship, and they're trying to get back to the spaceship. And they still have contact with the ship's AI, and they're trying to kind of get the AI to give them advice as what they can and can't do. And the AI turns around to them and says, yeah, but that's not your biggest problem. And they're like, why? What's our biggest problem? And the AI says, well, your oxygen tanks only have 90 minutes left in them. So literally they have 90 minutes to get back to their ship and back inside before they die. So that's exciting. So the fact that I didn't even realise this was set in space, I thought it was just some contemporary boy meets girl kind of romancy thing. This has definitely upped on my TBR since then. So yeah, I'm going to be taking this off my contemporary shelf, putting it on with the rest of my sci-fis, which to be fair is not very many. But yeah, I'm going to keep that one. And the last one I'm going to keep is Fairy Wars by Herbie Brennan. And this was one that was gifted to me by the lovely Charlotte. And the reason why I'm keeping this is because, again, the ending of the first chapter ended with such a jaw-dropping moment that I was like, ooh, can't wait to read the rest of this one. So, yeah, catch me by the first chapter and I will be hooked. but bore me by the first chapter and I will just DNF. So yeah, so I have 5 books that I am definitely unhauling, 2 that are on probation, and 5 that I'm keeping. So 50-50, win-win for me. So that is my try a chapter tag. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.